Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here, and we're going to discuss the season finale of The Penguin. And it met all expectations, if not blow them out of the water. We open in another flashback that turns out to actually have been induced by Julian Rush's red light, in which we learn back in the past, after the bodies of Oz's brothers were found, his mom had found evidence that he actually was responsible. What the heck have I got on there? I suspect a four-legged house occupant responsible for that. Anyway, and she's talking to the local gangster, Rex. You know, the one Oz had always talked about, like in the first episode, about how everybody loved and respected him. Anyway, and she's talking to him, and he's like, well, there's two ways you can go about this. One, you can shape him. He has a drive and a certain viciousness that you could mold, as they do in his line of work, being a gangster. Or you could get rid of him. Well, then this leads to the night she took Oz out to the nightclub. And it turns out originally she was going to have Rex take Oz for a ride, if you know that euphemism. But eventually changes her mind. We then cut to Vic, who, with all the other gangs, that he amassed the gangs, and they're heading towards Crown Point, only to be stopped because of all the destruction. Well, that's it for the gangs. There's no product. There's no point. Oz is probably dead. And Vic tries to, do those speeches that Oz does, but it doesn't work. And Link tells him, look, know your place. There's times to talk, and there's times not to. And then all the gangsters leave. Oz wakes up tied to a chair. Just like his meeting with Sophia the first episode. Anyways. Or second. Can't remember which. I think it was probably second. Anyway. She starts by telling him a story about a mama bird and two little birds, and the big bird tossed the other little bird out, and the mother just accepted it. And I was like, what the heck are you talking about? This makes no sense. I ain't come here for no story. And she's like, oh, I guess I was being a little too vague. And basically reveals that she knows what Oz did. Oz's mom knows what Oz did. And Oz is like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. And then Sophia reveals that Oz's mom had originally planned to have him killed. Oz doesn't believe that, of course. But when Oz won't confess, she hands Julian a cigar clipper. And because remember, they took one of her brother's fingers. And so, if Oz doesn't confess, they're going to take one of his mom's fingers. And at this point, I'm convinced Oz has told himself he didn't kill his brothers, and he believes it, so he doesn't know what they want him to confess. It's ridiculous. Which just causes his mother to snap about how selfish and horrible he is, and how much she hates him and always has. and then busts a beer bottle and stabs him in the stomach. Oh my God, this is insane. And then she sees a vision of her children, the ones Oz got rid of, and then collapses. Well, this gives Oz some impetus, and he manages to break one of the chair arms he's been taped to, and he gets into a fight, grabs a gun, shoots several of Sophia's men, grabs his mom and heads out. And outside is Detective Wise, the drops addict that had captured Oz, and Oz gets rid of him too, and rushes his mom to the hospital. And after the doctors take her in, he steals a phone, calls Vic to come pick him up. And when Vic gets to the hospital, he sees Oz is basically giving himself triage. He's like using one of those medical stapler things to staple his own wound shut. He had pulled glass out of himself. But he's in bitter despair. But Vic rallies him with one of Oz's own speeches, which makes Oz laugh. Well, he knows war's coming, but he's going to go at it from a different direction from the one Sophia's expecting. Now Sophia calls all the gangs together and lets them know she's leaving. This isn't her thing. She only wants one thing. She wants Oz brought before her for revenge. And in return, whoever does this will get all of the territories. The Gigantes, the Merinos, because Marino's been wiped out, and she's willing to give it all up. Now Link, of course, asks, why should we believe anyone would do that? Good question. Sophia's got a great answer. Because I can. Okay. Oz has Vic take him to City Hall. While Vic is waiting, Oz goes inside. Link calls Vic and says, you were right. We got to do something about this. It's getting out of hand. Tell me where you are. Is it a trick? Possibly. Probably. Anyways, Oz meets with the councilman. He's been blackmailing him. And tells him Sophia sent one of her SUVs down into the trolley system, blew it up because Sal Maroney was running a major drug lab there. And they've got a big rivalry. And all they have to do is dig down, they'll find pieces of the car, which will be registered to the Falcons, and Sal's body, and all the drug paraphernalia. And this would be a great opportunity for some ambitious congressman, maybe even get to be mayor. Who knows? All Oz wants in return is an introduction to the seats of power. That's all. That's all. It's a pretty good sales pitch. On his way out, Oz looks up and he sees the mayor and her entourage and how everyone respects her, and he's a little jealous of that. Well, he goes out to his car. Vic's missing. Link is there with some people, and they have guns and ask him to get into their car. It was a setup, all right. Well, Zal, the head of the Tong, calls Sophia. They have Oz. Okay, meet me at this hangar. I've got a few things to tie up. She then burns down the Falcone estate and heads to the hangar, where it turns out, unbeknownst to Zhao, I can't remember these names anyways, Link actually is in partnership with Oz, and he kills Zhao, and they kill all of Sophia's men. And then Oz takes Sophia for a drive. And while they're talking, we get a little montage, very reminiscent of Coppola's Godfather, in which all the heads of the different gangs are being taken out by basically the second in commands, the way Link did. And they end up in a field out in the outskirts. And Sophia turns around, and she's cocking a gun, and she waits. And nothing happens. And then there's lights and sirens, and she turns around. Oz is gone. The police are arriving to arrest her for blowing up Crown Point and everything. And so, of course, having been framed as the hangman, police are more than willing to believe that she's still crazy, which technically she is. Anyways, Oz and Vic rush her back to the hospital, and he's telling his mom all that's happened, and isn't she proud of him, and she's just no response. Turns out she'd had a massive stroke. That's why she collapsed, and she is basically in a vegetative state, like a coma. And Oz is just heartbroken. He will never hear his mom say the one thing he's always wanted her to say to him, how proud she is of him and how he really accomplished it and everything. Afterwards, Oz is sitting out by the river with Vic, and they're passing a bottle back and forth and talking about, family and stuff. And Oz tells him that, he's really proud of Vic. Vic really came through. But for this next part of the journey, they can't go together, because family is a weakness. And then he strangles Vic. And for the final indignity, takes his money from him and throws his ID into the river so that he looks like a mugging victim and is just some other random mugging. We then cut to the asylum back at Arkham, where they've reinstated Julian, amazingly enough, and he goes to visit Sophia, who's back in her old cell, and he's talking about the mail she's gotten, usual death threats and marriage proposals, but this is an interesting one. It's a black envelope, and he hands it to her. It's from someone named Selena Kyle. She claims to be your stepsister, or half-sister. And at that, Sophia finally kind of perks up. She'd been ignoring everything till now. And she takes the letter, and what she reads makes her smile. So, wonder if this will have anything to do with the next Batman movie. Or even better, a Sophia show. And we end on a rather sad note. Oz, now in full tuxedo with top hat. He has accepted the Penguin moniker that he has always despised as his visual identity. And he goes up to a penthouse apartment he now owns, having gotten out of his fancy new car. And he goes into a room, and there his mom is, set up with all her medical equipment, with a window to look out of. And he tells her all about how he did it. It was all for her, and he kept his promise. And he goes downstairs. And it's a, pretty expansive penthouse, where Eve with her hair dyed dark, is in a very similar dress to what we saw Oz's mother wearing on the night they went to the nightclub. And Oz puts on music and they dance. And he has Eve be a stand-in for his mother, telling him how proud she is of him and how he kept his promise and Gotham is all his. Although, when you see her face after she says this, you can really tell the emotion in there that this is now her lot in life. But and then we pan outside to the sky, and what appears on the horizon? The bat signal, to let us know that despite all this, he's still got things to contend with, namely the Batman. Really good episode. The thing with Eve kind of surprised me at first because I thought she wouldn't have anything to do with Oz after she learned the truth from Sophia. But then again, Eve is a survivor. It's not like she and Oz had a real relationship. It was always, I pay you and you tell me and do things I want. And that's all she's doing here. But his obsession with his mother has gotten to the creepiest point I've ever seen, even though he is now probably one of the most dangerous and feared men in Gotham. A little side note, as much as I enjoy Danny DeVito's portrayal of the Penguin in Batman Returns, the way Colin Farrell looks at the end of this episode and his character, that's kind of how I had hoped the Penguin would be shown. He's very dapper, but really, really dangerous. Like Peter Lorre in the old classic, The Face Behind the Mask. Anyway, really good episode. Shocked when he killed Vic. I didn't think that would happen, but I understand. He's had all these lieutenants kill the bosses in their gangs, and who's his lieutenant? Vic. Maybe, you know. And on his face you can tell he hates doing this, but he's resolved. He has to. Survival. That's all he's ever done. Emotional roller coaster. I was expecting Oz to kill Sophia there at the end, but he didn't. He set her up, and which is good because I didn't want to see her go. I'm hoping to see that character again. Kristen Milotti is awesome in the role. But that might have been a miscalculation on his part. You shouldn't leave an enemy like that alive, because though locked up, he should know determination and vengeance are a powerful mix that can accomplish things. Anyway, really great ending. I'm only sad that we have to wait till I think 2026 to see the next Batman movie, because I'm really enjoying this. This is probably one of the best shows on TV, period. Not yet obviously the best comic based show, but one of the best shows. I've always found that the best superhero shows and films are ones that take a different genre and incorporate it into a superhero story. Like the first Ant-Man was a heist movie, you know, and the Batman was more or less a buddy cop film. You know, when they do things like that, I really enjoy it. Well, that's about all I have to say about this great season. Maybe they'll do another one. Who knows? Or maybe they'll do a show about another one of the main villains. Like I said, maybe Sophia. Maybe who's a good? Oh, maybe Catwoman. We can get more into her story. Who knows? But please hit like, share, and subscribe. And hopefully I'll enjoy. In December, I'll probably be watching Creature Commandos, as I was a big fan of the original comic. And well, Till then, see you later.